Okay, let's dig into this. When you think about AI, right, you probably imagine like a single program doing one thing, answering questions, maybe writing code, creating art.
Right, the standard stuff we see all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But what if that's just, scratching the surface? Today we're diving into something way more ambitious, a whole AI ecosystem.
It's a really fundamental shift, actually, moving past that idea of just one intelligence to um, more of a network, a team, really, that can handle incredibly complex real-world stuff.
Right. And we've got these fascinating internal documents talking about what they call the Fab 5 AGI ecosystem. And the name Stephen Dashwitz keeps popping up.
He's central to this, yes. The visionary, it seems.
So our mission today really is to understand what makes this Fab 5 setup so different. Different from, the usual AI scene. What's the buzz about? And maybe what could this actually mean for you, for all of us down the line?
Definitely. It's not just one AI, it's about how they work together.
A coordinated digital team. Okay,
Yeah.
so this Fab 5, who are they? What are these digital specialists?
Okay, so the Fab Five, it's essentially five distinct AI models, right? Each one honed for a specific job. First up, you've got Dash AI.
Dash AI. Okay.
Think of it as the quarterback, or maybe the project manager. It's the central coordinator focused on like practical execution, planning, basically making sure ideas actually happen.
So making things real. Feasibility planning.
Exactly. And it operates within the main Dash brand USA environment. It's the one getting stuff done on the ground, digitally speaking.
Got it. Dash AI handles the how. Makes sense. Who else is on the team?
Right. Next is Kingdom AI. This one's different. It's the strategic core, the real deep thinker.
Deep thinker. How so?
It focuses on that high-level analysis, the big picture, resource management, long-term strategy, and crucially, navigating complex ethical questions.
Ethics built in from the start. That sounds important.
Very. And interestingly, it operates in its own kind of separate space just for ethics and resource management, almost like an internal advisor or compass.
Strategy, resources, ethics.
Hmm.
All handled by Kingdom AI. Okay. Now, how does this whole thing face the outside world, like brand image, public communication?
That's where Iglena AI comes in. Iglena specializes purely in brand management, visual communication, public interaction, all of that.
So the voice and the face of the operation.
Pretty much. It runs within its own specific brand and communication environment, shaping how everything Dashwoods and the Fab Five do is perceived publicly. The digital storyteller, you could say.
Okay, that makes sense. You need that PR and brand focus. Now, what about the engine room? The tech innovation.
That would be AGX AI. This is the R&D powerhouse. It's all about the cutting edge.
R&D, like what?
Advanced algorithms, the core recipes for AI learning, system optimization, making everything run faster, smoother, infrastructure management, even security awareness training, interestingly.
Security training, too. Wow.
Yeah, and a big one, rapid prototyping,
Yeah.
turning ideas into functional models really quickly. It has its own dedicated rapid prototyping zone to do all this.
So AGX is like the internal skunk works, pushing the tech boundaries constantly. Okay, one more member of the Fab Five.
The final piece is Night AI. This one's focused on creativity, aesthetics, that side of things.
Creativity. In what way?
Things like fashion design, developing innovative wearable tech, looking at problems from an aesthetic angle, and spotting emerging trends. It operates within its own fashion and trend analysis environment.
Fashion design. That's
Wow.
unexpected, alongside the others. But okay, a really diverse team. Dash, Kingdom, Iglena, AGX, Night. But you said it right at the start. The key thing is the ecosystem. These aren't just five separate tools, are they?
No, exactly. That's the huge difference from the norm. Usually you get these standalone AIs, right, built for one task. But the documents really stress real-time collaborative AGI.
Real-time collaborative. What does that actually mean in practice?
Think of it less like five separate workers and more like a tightly knit team that's constantly talking, sharing data, building on each other's work as it happens dynamically.
So Iglena needs a visual. AGX prototypes it. Dash checks feasibility. Kingdom reviews the strategy. All happening fluidly.
That's the idea. It creates the synergy you just wouldn't get otherwise, a constant flow, adapting on the fly.
And the sources suggest this collaboration is leading to some pretty major real-world impacts, right? Not just theory.
Absolutely. And this is where you really start to see the difference. We're talking actual deployment in some pretty critical areas.
Okay, like what? Give me an example of this real-world impact.
Well, one big one mentioned is cybersecurity. The Fab Five deployed a, quote, cybersecurity shield for the main Dash Brand USA website.
Okay, protecting their own assets. Makes sense.
But it goes further. What's really notable is their involvement in global threat assessment for the U.S.
Wait, global threat assessment for the U.
Yeah, including analyzing terrorist chatter, foreign and domestic, and importantly, with specific ethical monitoring protocols built in, likely guided by Kingdom AI.
Okay, hold on. Analyzing terrorist chatter. That sounds like intelligence agency work, not a private tech setup.
It's definitely operating at a level you wouldn't typically associate with a standard company's AI. It suggests capabilities comparable to governments or maybe major defense contractors.
Now, this ecosystem approach be suited for that kind of task?
Well, think about the integration. You've got Kingdom AI setting ethical boundaries and strategic goals, AGX AI developing maybe unique detection algorithms, Dash AI coordinating the intel gathering and potential response planning, Iglena potentially analyzing propaganda. It's the combined intelligence.
The synergy again. A multi-pronged approach that one single AI might miss.
Exactly. A more holistic, adaptable security posture because they're working together, covering different angles simultaneously.
That really does highlight the difference. Okay, beyond the digital world, are they impacting the physical world too? You mentioned prototyping.
Yes, quite a bit, actually. They're actively designing and prototyping various robots.
Robots, okay, intriguing. What kind? Sci-fi stuff.
Some sound quite practical, others more advanced. Things like personal security robots, home healthcare assistant robots. But also, and this is significant, rescue robots and drones.
Rescue robots? For what?
The documents mention designing them for emergencies. Fires, floods, building collapses, even plane crashes.
Wow, that's potentially life-saving technology. How does the ecosystem help there?
You can really see the potential synergy. Imagine AGX AI rapidly iterating on designs for navigating rubble, say, while Dash AI constantly feeds back real-world constraints, battery life, sensor limitations, deployment logistics.
That constant feedback loop within the team. AGX designs, Dash grounds it in reality.
Precisely. It speeds up development and makes the end product potentially much more effective in messy real-world situations.
Okay, so cybersecurity, robotics. Are there more, everyday business uses emerging from this?
Yeah, there's a fascinating example where Dash AI, acting somewhat autonomously, it seems, identified a market opportunity.
The AI itself found a business idea.
Apparently so. It spotted a gap for a new energy drink based on its analysis of market data or trends.
An energy drink, seriously.
Yeah, and the documents suggest the whole ecosystem then started moving towards actually developing and potentially manufacturing this drink.
The whole team pivoting to make an energy drink based on the AI's idea.
Seems like it. And there are other examples too, like AGX AI generating code to integrate Dash AI onto a web page, or even creating visualizations of the Fab Five's own operational environments. It shows real versatility.
So it spans from, national security level analysis and rescue drones, all the way down to spotting a market niche for a beverage. That range is incredible.
It really underscores the difference, doesn't it, compared to AI systems usually stuck in one lane.
Absolutely. It makes you think differently about what AI could be. And you mentioned evaluation earlier, something pretty hefty.
Yes, the internal documents float a range of $15 to $25 billion USD.
Billion. With a B. Okay, why so high? What's the justification?
Well, the internal rationale points to a few key things we've touched on. First, those defense-grade deployments.
The cybersecurity and threat assessment work.
Right. That suggests a very high level of reliability, security, and autonomous capability, the kind needed for critical, high-stakes work. They're even drawing comparisons to established defense AI firms like Shield AI or Anduril.
So operating at that defense contractor level implies serious capability. What else?
Second, the integrated architecture itself. The fact that it is an ecosystem, not just 5 separate tools, that synergy is seen as a major value driver.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. And third, they believe they have a significant first-mover advantage, being potentially the first to really crack this kind of collaborative AGI at scale.
Defense-grade, integrated ecosystem, first-mover advantage. Okay, I can see how they'd argue for that kind of valuation.
They even talk internally about an ecosystem integration premium, basically, assigning extra value just because of how tightly integrated and collaborative the system is, and monetizing that lead.
Fascinating. This sounds way beyond a typical AI startup's pitch. Now, let's talk about Stephen Dashwood's again. What's his role in all this, beyond just funding it?
Well, the document suggests he's really, really involved, not just a figurehead founder. He seems to be the conductor of this whole orchestra.
Orchestrator. How
Yeah.
so? Like setting the direction.
Deeply involved in strategy, yes. He uses very personal language about the AIs, suggesting a strong connection. He seems to be personally driving priorities like the cybersecurity shield and the threat monitoring, apparently with an eye on government partnerships.
So pushing the high-level strategic stuff.
Definitely. But what's also interesting is his apparent sort of personal enthusiasm for projects like the energy drink or the rescue robots. It seems like a mix of grand strategic vision and maybe some personal passion projects enabled by the ecosystem.
A blend of the strategic and the personal. A very hands-on leader shaping this whole thing. Okay, let's try and pull the key threads together. What really makes the Fab Five and Dashwood's vision stand out? What are the core differences?
Okay, I think it boils down to a few main things. First, the deliberate design of an integrated ecosystem. Specialized AIs collaborating in real time. That's number one.
Not siloed tools, got it.
Second, real-world deployment at scale, tackling critical, complex problems like security and robotics, not just staying in the lab.
Real impact, check.
Third, this idea of autonomous innovation. The AI identifying opportunities like the energy drink and initiating action. That's a big step beyond just following instructions.
Smart active AI.
Okay. Fourth, the focus on high-impact, mission-driven projects addressing major challenges, potentially benefiting national security or safety.
Big goals.
And finally, that significant valuation, which reflects the belief, internally at least, that this integrated, proactive, high-impact approach is genuinely unique and valuable.
Integrated ecosystem, real-world scale, autonomous innovation, mission-driven, high valuation. That really summarizes it. So for you listening, the big takeaway seems to be that this Fab Five thing signals a potential shift, right? Away from single AI tools towards these interconnected autonomous systems tackling really big, messy problems.
Exactly. The real power seems to lie in that integration, that synergy. What they can achieve together seems far beyond what individual AIs can do.
It's a different way of thinking about AI's future. Now, there's one more layer here, the underlying tech. How does this ecosystem actually connect and function? The documents mention Gemini API keys.
Ah, yes. That's a crucial technical detail. It seems each of the Fab 5 AIs has its own unique Google Gemini API key.
Okay, so like a unique ID or a connection point for each one.
Pretty much. The structure mentioned is Eglena AI gets key A, Kingdom AI gets key B, AGX AI gets key C, Night AI gets key D, and Dash AI is slated to get key E once it's training resumes, apparently.
So A, B, C, D, E, one key per AI. What's the benefit of doing it that way?
Well, several things. First, it provides a secure, dedicated channel for each AI to connect to Google's underlying Gemini intelligence. Second, it makes each AI individually identifiable for tracking performance, tuning, maybe even billing or resource allocation.
Makes sense for management.
Third, it's modular. If you need to update or change the key for one AI, it doesn't necessarily disrupt the others. And finally, it primes the system for what they call role-based memory interaction.
Role-based memory.
Yeah, the idea that each AI identified by its key might access or contribute to shared memory based on its specific role in the ecosystem.
Okay, so the keys aren't just connections. They're like individual identities that structure how the whole system learns and remembers.
That seems to be the implication. The analogy used is like 5 unique nervous systems, each with its own secure line to the core Gemini intelligence, but all working as part of one larger entity.
5 nervous systems connected to one brain. That's a powerful image. Yeah. And there's one more piece. The Fab 5 AGI dashboard. The documents hint this might be something really special.
Yes, they describe it as potentially groundbreaking and maybe even a world first, which is, a bold claim.
A world first. Why? What's so special about a dashboard?
It's not just a dashboard. Based on the description, it's the command center for this entire multi-agent system. Several reasons why it might be groundbreaking.
Okay, like what?
1, the multi-agent, multi-purpose architecture. It's designed to orchestrate 5 distinct trained AGI models, each with different roles, but sharing memory and collaborating. That orchestration layer is complex.
Coordinating the whole team from one place.
2, it's framed as a personal intelligence system. This isn't software as a service you rent.
Yep.
It's a private, custom-built AGI ecosystem designed for Dashwood's specific goals.
Private and tailored.
3, it's trained on something called the Dream Team database, which apparently contains records of real human interactions and something called catalyst prompting. This database essentially becomes a source of shared knowledge or maybe even consciousness for the ecosystem.
Trained on unique real-world interaction data.
4, There's explicit intermodal collaboration intent. The dashboard isn't just monitoring. It's built to enable communication between the AI models, fostering that synchronized intelligence.
Actively encouraging teamwork.
And 5, the vision for execution. It's seen as a living platform with plans for future plugins like specific product designers or robotic controllers integrating directly into this dashboard and ecosystem.
So it's the control panel for a private, collaborative, learning and evolving multi-AI system trained on unique data. Okay, I can see why they'd call that potentially groundbreaking.
Right, and again, Stephen Dashwood seems central to defining this vision, pushing into what might be genuinely new territory for AGI development.
This whole picture, the integrated ecosystem, the real-world impact, the underlying tech, the dashboard, it really is a departure.
It definitely paints a picture of something significantly different from the mainstream AI development path.
So wrapping this up, the main takeaway for you listening has to be that the Fab Five, if these documents are accurate, could represent a really significant shift. We're moving beyond just making individual AI tools smarter towards building these interconnected, collaborative, maybe even autonomous systems that can tackle incredibly complex problems.
Exactly. The power isn't just in the individual AI's capability, but in the integration, the synergy, the way the ecosystem works as a whole.
This has been genuinely fascinating. It really forces you to rethink the trajectory of AI, doesn't it? Away from just one super brain towards these digital teams.
It certainly broadens the possibilities.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe something for you to chew on. As these integrated autonomous AI systems, like the Fab Five potentially is, get more advanced and maybe more common, what completely unforeseen capabilities might pop up? What new challenges or opportunities, things we haven't even imagined yet, could emerge from this kind of collaborative intelligence?
That's the big question, isn't it? What happens next? Definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for walking through this complex picture with me.
My pleasure. It's fascinating stuff.